Hello, and welcome to the first installment of Learn and Earn. After doing a lot of consulting and coaching, I have realized that there is a lot of information that I have to just roll out, and I love to share and I love to serve. So, this is kind of the first introduction into what we're going to call Learn and Earn, success and wealth building strategies. And I want to just share some of the things my mind is always going. And I've been thinking about ways to just essentially open it up and kind of do a bit of a, if you will, kind of a projection of it in some way so that people who are listening can also benefit from the things that are going in my mind. You can kind of think of this as a segue. We're thinking about starting up a course, depending on how much interest that we generate. So if you stumble across this, it's definitely not by accident, and you find that it is helpful and you're feeling like you want more, you're feeling like you're wanting something more intense or something more organized or just, a more steady flow of this type of information, please find us. You can find us on social media under House of Zeddy, and we have put descriptions you've put our information in the description, links hopefully, so that you can find us and all that good stuff. So today, as our first installment, we're going to talk about success. We're going to talk about goals. We're going to talk about profit, and we're going to talk about what does that mean to you. It's interesting when you do free association with words. When I think of profit, the first thing I think in my mind are those graphs with arrows, the green arrows that are zigzagging up, and someone else might hear profit and think something else. So when I first said that word, what comes to mind? And keep in mind, don't just shut this video off if you aren't thinking about business, because profit isn't just about business or entrepreneurship. Profit is essentially building or gaining more resources than what you started with. Based on some sort of effort that is being put in, whether on your behalf or effort that you have set in motion. So success building, profit, looking at it that way, and a lot of times it can actually be beneficial to widen the scope of the terminology you use, because then it kind of can sometimes take a concept that may have turned a bit stale for you and to give you a new facet and way of looking at it. And it's almost like giving your brain another hallway to go down to see how looking at something from that perspective will essentially get your mind going, get you getting creative. And I love watching, and believe it or not, I know many people who don't think of themselves at first as ones who would start a business, and then sometime down the road they find that they are. So never be closed off. You just never know what you're capable of doing, and then it's kind of exciting that we don't. And we just take one step at a time. So profit, success. What do those things look like for you? Success is just essentially a desired outcome. When you look down the road, you're saying, okay, these are the things that I want to happen, and these are the things that I'd like to take place. For a lot of people, that can be kind of overwhelming. So I'm here to talk about different ways to make your success not seem like such a long road or like such a difficult road. You can look at me as kind of a guide, a travel guide, a friend, someone to lock arms with you and to kind of, talk through some of the challenges that you face as you're walking. We can do this through here. We can do this one-on-one, and we can do this as a group. So I look forward to getting to know you. I look forward to having some fun together. And if you want to know more about me, feel free. We actually have a podcast called Opting Out, and we'll give you another kind of facet to my mindset. I totally believe that we are meant to stand out, and I believe we are all actually special, every single person on this planet. And my mission is to do whatever I can do so that each person that I come across, hopefully as many and everyone if I can, I mean, that's my goal, will know that they actually are extremely special and they have wonderful things to do. So here's another avenue that I am undertaking in order to do that and to get more specific with kind of an educational component for those looking for some practical ideas. So let's keep it simple for this first one, and let's talk about what is success for you. When I say success, when I say goal, what is the first thing that is coming to your mind? Because there's something that's immediately on your mind that you want to get to it. You can kind of think of it as you on one end and your goal kind of as an X marks the spot down this winding path, and this map that we're looking at is kind of the way to get there. One of the things I think about are those mazes. I believe that when we're, trying to reach our goals, it can sometimes feel like a maze. And if you see those little table map mazes, when you first look at it, the way to the end is not readily clear. A lot of times you have to experiment. You start, drawing their lines, and you run into a lot of dead ends that you kind of have to go back and kind of get your bearings and keep going. And sometimes when we're trying to reach our goals, that is what we run into. And sometimes people feel like they're doing something wrong when they're coming across a lot of walls. But you know what? That's actually not true, because the amazing part, it's like testing. When you are experimenting and testing, you are now filling in the map. I mean, think about it. Let's say the map is dark. Let's say you cannot see what you're looking at, or the maze you're in is dark. And the more you traverse it, the more you have essentially put light on it. So you know what works, what doesn't work, what you might want to go back to later. So life and our actual paths that we walk to our success are actually a lot more interesting than that, because even if you run into a dead end or an end that you weren't looking to, a lot of times that's something that you might want to come back to later, or it might open up relationships or opportunities that you are to kind of put in the back of your mind as you are trying to find the goal that you are more readily or recently trying to reach. So the cool thing about having someone kind of traverse that with you, a coach or a friend, really someone who understands kind of to how to get you kind of looking where it is you want to look, they ask those questions and they say, okay, so you have your goal in mind. You have the X marks the spot, right? And then you'll say, okay, well, what's the difference between where you are now and where you're trying to go? And what we try to do is we try to close that gap, depending on what that is. And then we'll look, I would ask questions, and I'll ask you questions now. So now that we've figured out where you're trying to go and where you are now, and what the difference is, what's the difference between where you are now and where you're trying to go? And then when you think about that, how exciting or how excited does that make you, that potential outcome of you closing the gap between where you are now and where you're trying to go? A good example of this could be that maybe you want to start a new class or a new study or a new field, and you're in the field that you are now, and you know what that looks like, and you look and you ask questions. Well, I'm here, and this is what I'm doing right now, but I want to be over here in this field. And then we talk about, like I would ask you, well, what about that field do you like, and what brought you to wanting to do that? And as I hear you get excited about this new opportunity, then we start looking at, well, when you're there, what do the indicators of success look like? How do you know that you've actually reached your goal? It could be, well, I'm enrolled in this class, or it could be, I am doing research. This is the example I'm giving, but I want you to kind of bring it back to when I talked about what is the current goal, what is the current thing that you're trying to be success at. It could be homeschooling your children. It could be putting them into some other educational environment. It could be helping your child figure out what college they're going to. It could be determining whether you want to stay home or go back to work, or to go back home as well. So rather stay at your job or start a new business. I mean, success can look a variety of ways, and you don't have to be a certain this in order to have a discussion about success and about what I'm going to say. For example, your marchability of profit, let's say. I mean, that's a good way of looking at it. Profit is the inching forward. It's a representation that you are moving up, that you are gaining value for what you are doing, right? So we might say, well, when you think about your success and what you're doing there, what about that is profitable for you? And you might say, well, being enrolled in this class will open up the possibility for me to make more money. That is profitable for you. Or it will give me more time in order to do the things I want to do. That is profitable. You have gained more time for the work that you have put in for what you were doing. So this kind of summarize it to make sure we're there. What does success mean to you? When I say success, What is the thing that's first on your mind that you're trying to reach? What's the goal that you have in front of you that you are walking towards? And then we look at, what does it look like when you're there? When you see yourself at that place, what are you doing, and how do you know that you have reached that particular goal? And how does that make you feel? And then I ask, when you think about it, how excited does that make you? What is your feelings now about getting to that place, about closing the gap? Oftentimes we can get very caught into our present, and it's okay to be aware of where you are, but sometimes if we become hyper aware, then it's very easy for motivation to turn into discouragement, or that momentum to turn into inertia, or that excitement feeling to kind of turn into that heaviness feeling. And so a lot of times it really helps to keep looking forward to where you're headed, not behind you or kind of down at your feet to where you are. Be aware of those other things, but be focused on where you're trying to go. That way you won't lose your momentum. And a lot of times you can tell as soon as you start feeling your momentum wane or decrease, then stop what it is and evaluate and say, okay, you know what? Have I stopped looking at where I'm going? And the other thing that happens is the roadblocks. So as you're walking your path, a lot of times you're going to have distractions. You're going to have things that try to get you to turn around, guilt, doubt. Those are very much normal part of reaching a new place. I believe that they actually help us to be stronger and to help strengthen our resolve. So when you come against adversity and trying to get to where you're trying to go, remember, this adversity is strengthening you. A really great example is when you think about someone training for a marathon or someone training at a gym. They don't just walk up to a marathon cold and say, I want to go and run. They have to train ahead of time. And the amazing part of our bodies is that when we train it, it actually gets stronger. And one of the things I've noticed just in my years of doing all the different things that I do is a lot of the physics and the truths that exist in one area exists and can be applied to other areas. So as we talk about working out and doing repetitive strengthening motions with weights and how it literally physically will tear down our muscles, and that is very uncomfortable. But then once they heal back stronger. So they tear down, realize what they were, the state that they were at was not good enough for what has the stress that's been put on it. So it compensates and it grows and it heals better so that it can take on that stress the next time it comes at it. And so if you take that example and you place it into adversity, when you're trying to reach a goal and you're moving towards success, and you come against something that causes you to just tear down. It might knock you down. It might take you back several steps. You might even feel like you're back to where you started. But if you choose to fix back on your goal, remember the difference between where you're going and where you are now, why you want to go there, and all of the things that you see are going to happen once you get there, you will start to feel your motivation and your momentum build up again. But something different will happen. It will be stronger than it was when you first started. So then if you choose to continue on your momentum, you put one foot in front of the other and you keep going. So now maybe that same pressure or adversity comes against you. Well, now maybe you dodge it or it bounces off of you and you keep going. So just keep that in mind and expect that as you go somewhere new and do something new, that you're going to possibly come across barriers and things that cause you to doubt. And let's talk about doubt. Doubt something that kind of causes us to choose to stop what we're doing and turn around and go back. It's something kind of more that happens within our own minds. And a way when you start feeling your self-doubt or if guilt starts kicking in, let's then reevaluate. Let's stop and say, okay, why am I on this journey in the first place? Where am I going? Why am I going there? Why did I want to change where I was at? A lot of times when we're headed somewhere, it's because we are ready to change or leave something behind for something greater or better for us as we see it. So stop and ask yourself, why am I doing this again? And then you kick that doubt to the curb, because once you've built your motivation again, you will push that doubt aside. And doubt doesn't always go away, but a lot of times we can strengthen our resolve to push past it. It's almost like pushing past it and saying, I'm choosing to still move forward because I trust what I'm doing. So that is something to think about. So I'm hoping I'm kind of building this picture for those of you who have a photographic memory. For those of you who don't, I really recommend rewinding this and drawing it out. Literally draw yourself and draw maybe even a ways and a windy path and draw an X and put by that X what that X is for you, what is input success and what that looks like. And then put where you are here and say, this is where I'm at here. And then you put where you are here. What does that look like? When you look around you, you can name all the descriptions and how you're feeling and what you think about that. And then also, then you do that part first. And then when you draw out your X marks the spot and you put success there, say, what does that mean to you? What does that look like to you? If you're someone who likes to see visuals, you can draw a picture there. If you think in more descriptive terms, put that there. If however it is that it represents to you, place it there so that you can kind of see it. And that's something you can refer back to. And in your path, you can look down that path and see yourself. And you can even put some spaces there to help you know that you are actually traversing your path. So some checkpoints along the way that where you know, so if you're headed to X and you know that maybe some research needs to be done or you'd like to do research, that can be a step along the way. And as you're doing that, and then when you come across that, write it, go to your picture and you write it down what it was or what it is, and then reevaluate and remember what you're doing and ask yourself, is this doubt enough to give me the turn back? Do I want to go back to what it was? And you can read, this is what it feels like where I was. Because sometimes you can forget that because it can get a little bit scary. The further we get away from what's normal and what's common to us, we can get into unfamiliar territory and start feeling a bit uncomfortable and think that, well, I was used to where I came from, so maybe I should go back. I know a lot of times when people are thinking about, say in their jobs, getting a promotion or making a lateral move or doing anything new, that could even be if you're at home, working from home, or if you are home with your children, a lot of times deciding to add an extra activity or put yourself in an unfamiliar circumstance. Either way, when you do something new and you can be excited about it, but as soon as you've stepped into that something new, it can feel a little bit uncomfortable and it can be tempting to turn around and go back to what felt comfortable. So when you start feeling that way, it really does help to go back. Before turning back, get your paper out, your roadmap to success, and you ask yourself, remind yourself of what you felt like when you were there and what you will feel like or what you feel like with the thought of going to your X marks the spot of success. And then you can kind of essentially get back kind of onto what you're doing and be able to push that doubt aside and say, I know what I'm doing and I'm going to keep going. And it really helps to have some accountability in that, and those checkpoints definitely help with that. And if you have a support system, that will totally help with that as well. And it can get you on that path. And remember, the goals that we think about, make them something that is local to you. When I say local, meaning you can see it and you can see you getting there. Because we have our local goals, and then we kind of have what you can call international. You got domestic, international, local, domestic, international, universal, and it can go even further than that. Galaxy, whatever, that looks like, and on and on. So start at your local goal, and then as soon as you've met that, then the next one won't seem so far, and so on and so forth. And so you can start seeing the benefits of your movement. And I believe we are all meant to be in movement. And one good thing, and we'll talk more in depth on this on another in another course. But as a side note, I know that a lot of people struggle with anxiety and depression. That just seems to be such a big issue for many, and it has no discrimination against culture, age, or anything. It's just so many people struggle with that. And a lot of times whenever we want to start moving forward, these are the things that kind of weigh on us. I mean, I kind of think of them as like weights, just bricks that hang out in our bags and luggage and baggage, just keep us from really being able to move, because the weight of them is more than we're even supposed to be handling. It's like it's one thing to have some adversity come against you that you can build against, another thing when it's literally like a ton, and we're not meant to deal with a ton of bricks on us. It's an abnormal and unnormal amount of weight that is to keep us from movement. We are meant to be moving in so many ways, thinking and moving. So if this is something that is striking a chord in you, do not beat yourself up. Do not think that it is because that you're doing something wrong, because you have something coming against you that you're not supposed to have coming against you. It's not normal, and so that's why it feels that way, although it's a real attack on the mind. But I'm here as a voice of truth to say that it is not the truth. Those voices are not the truth. The truth is you have great things. You have ideas. They're just under the weight of that junk. And I encourage you. And even as you hear this, I am thinking that you will be encouraged and inspired, and whatever that hold is will be just shattered. And if that's the case, let me know so we can encourage each other, and I can just praise the Lord and just see you moving in a great direction. If you're hearing this and there's somebody comes to your mind, reach out to that person and tell them that they are not by themselves, and those things that are telling them what they are telling them is a ton of bricks that don't belong there. They are uninvited guests, and they got to go. And just speak that truth. We all need to have truth spoken to us outside of our own minds. Every one of us, we're meant to be in community. And one of the things in my experience when I have had anxiety, depression on me, was really helped for me is serving. And this is something, we will talk about this more in another segment, but serving is one of the most amazing, miraculous things that you will ever undergo if you've never experienced it before. You can be feeling like you are just downy dumps, but you push forth and you go and you make sandwiches for people who are hungry, or you go and you hold babies in the hospital, or whatever you're feeling pulled to. And that ton of bricks has a way of it's almost like they all disintegrate and they were never there. I'm telling you. And so that is one really great way to start getting out of that fog and seeing clearly, and then remembering, what is it that you want to be doing? What is your movement? We all are meant to be in movement. I am so excited. I am so excited that you're here. I am so excited that we're getting to know each other. And I can't wait to see what I'm going to do next, because I don't even know. So I look forward to doing this again. And feel free to rewind this, take notes. If you have questions, find us. We are at House of Zeddy. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. We are on Pinterest. We actually need to kind of get more active there. But ultimately, you can find our email. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to encourage you. One of the things, especially if you're whatever you are, business or as personal life needs, we love to serve. So let us know how we can serve you. And one gifting that I have is I have so much optimism that I can share. It is not mine, and it is something that flows through me. And if you are seeing this and you want a little bit, I would love to share that with you and set you ablaze for whatever it is, and get excited with you for whatever it is that you want to be doing, because I know there is something that you want to be doing. And we are here. My awesome business partner and husband, he'll be doing some things as well. He is on the tech side of things. He's kind of in his think tank developing some really neat things for small businesses and as well as nonprofits, so that they can have more functionality and usability and just ability to thrive in this changing market that is depending more on technological advances. So we are super excited about him and what you're going to hear from him. He's amazing at what he does. And we just feel so blessed to be able to just serve you all. And I just want to open up my brain, figuratively, of course, and project in ways that are understood, ways that are received, in just neat ways that you can receive what you need in order to find your success and feel extremely profitable. Who doesn't want to feel like $1 million? I do. Well, thanks for joining us, and we will see you soon, lovelies.